You're listening to the Heroes Power Hour presented by BlizzPro.com. Your hosts, Balrog fan Zexorus and DJ Tyrant. To the Heroes Power Hour, sponsored by Legion by Lenovo. I'm Zexorus. With me is P-Flame G and Balrog fan BP. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a pretty good show coming up. We've got an interview with Faye, and we've got discussion on our build of the week and other things. First off, let us jump. Just get right into it. Week in gaming. Carl, how was your week in gaming, buddy?
My week in gaming was decent. I don't know how much. I don't know. My week's been a blur at work, but today before the show we played some games, and I had a lot of fun as Vala. Not as Ariel. Charlie was Ariel. He was good. But first game of all, I did 57% of the team's hero damage, which is just silly. But it was because I had an Ariel and a Morales sitting on me, just continually healing me, and I got to just stand. I basically got to frontline as Vala, which is always a fun time.
Wasn't that a 15-minute Hanamura game too?
Yeah, it was a 15-minute Hanamura game that I got like 108k hero damage in.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was
kind of good.
Go back and watch the VOD. It was pretty silly.
Yes, sir. My week was pretty tame. I didn't get a whole lot of gaming in. I got a new phone, so I started playing some random phone games. Did a little bit of Friday the 13th, a little bit of Hearthstone, a little bit of Heroes. It's been a mixed bag. Nothing really too serious. I'm just trying to really focus on supports and Heroes. I'm really trying to pick up Ariel. I'm probably going to try to learn Tassadar and Charism as well. They've just been holes in my support game for a very long time. So it's time to start being better. And
that's a great plan.
That's kind of it. Willie, how about you?
Well, first off, happy 5-year friendiversary, buddy.
Yes. 5 years of madness.
It's wood and silverware for us this year.
Yeah.
Week in gaming has been all right. Played a lot of Friday the 13th with you. I've been going back. I haven't played a lot of Heroes. I haven't had time to. So I've been doing a lot of single player stuff. Quote single player stuff. I've been grinding Jack 7 combos in Tekken 7, just trying to get the feel for him, because I really want to get back into Tekken. I miss playing that. I haven't seriously played it since Tekken 3, but
yeah,
I've been messing around with Nazebo and stuff like that, just because he's completely brain dead, and I'm getting over either food poisoning or a 24-hour bug, which was not fun.
One of the two.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. So.
Well, all right. I think we'll just jump right into this Faye interview. You got everything all lined up on your end?
Everything is ready to go. This interview is just short of a half hour, so we will be back in just a few minutes. Heads up, I do have more beard in the interview. I had to shave down a little bit because of reasons. So
yeah. And, well, Jimmy's also in this interview, so don't get confused. He didn't teleport in just for the interview. This is pre-recorded.
All right. See you guys in about a half hour. Welcome back to the Heroes Power Hour. We are having another wonderful interview with some of the professional players from HGC. With us today is the awesome Faye. Faye, thank you for coming on the show and talking to us about HGC and Heroes and all things esports. First question I wanted to ask was, how did you get involved in Heroes, and what brought you to the game, and I guess the history of that leading up to you being a part of Evil Geniuses at one of the, I think it was the first BlizzCon they showcased Heroes professionally at.
Yeah, it was the exhibition match, I think, in 2014. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started playing heroes in the alpha. I got in around, I think, the Murky patch, which was not a fun time to start playing the game because Murky was annoying back then. So I started playing around the Murky patch, and then like a month or so after that is when I first started to get in competitive. I got invited to play in a scrim with Urho and back then Nick Hotz. I think we played against Idra's team back then. It was like my first scrim. And then from there, we formed a bit of a team with me, Urho, Nick Hotz, and Reagan. We never really had a fourth player or a fifth player. So eventually, maybe like a couple months after that, I got invited to join Snowflake, which turned into EG. So Idra and them invited me to come play with them, so I went and joined EG. And then BlizzCon 2014 happened, and I stayed on EG for a couple months after that.
Okay, I guess a follow-up question to that, just for me as a StarCraft buff. What was it like playing with Idra? I know he's a very interesting personality.
Idra has actually probably been one of my best like teammates in HOTS, really. Like he's really like understanding, and like he's not like ragey at all. Like, you know, the persona that a lot of people think he has.
Yeah.
He's like really chill and cool. He's probably one of my best like teammates.
And that's actually fascinating to me because really, MOBAs tend to bring out the worst in people, in my experience. Like, so everything I've seen of Idra in the past and his famous, we'll call it his famous attitude, that not transitioning over to HOTS from what you say is actually really fascinating. So
yeah. As far as like a teammate goes, he was great. But you know, occasionally, like if we were playing against someone, you know, say Idra things, like, oh, that team is rah.
Hashtag just Idra things.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, God, now I'm fascinated because I was on a quote competitive team while you were on EG, and the first Titan arena. When C9, Maelstrom, and Vortex were a thing, I actually participated in that, and we got clobbered by remember if it was Vortex, yeah, with Bobby Hank Hill on it and all that, and that was a lot of fun. And the running joke was that we placed the same as EG, which. Then my computer died, and our team disbanded because of it. But that was always the running joke. So let's learn about Faye when you were as we were growing up. What were some of your favorite games when you were younger?
Pretty much just StarCraft Brood War.
Really?
I played Brood War. I think I started around when I was 10. Played it for like 7 or 8 years, I think. Played it a lot.
Yeah, I started at 13. When that was when the game came out. I was 13 and I got it and played it a lot. Oh, what race did you play, or did you jump around?
In Brood War, I played Protoss and Zerg. I kind of switched between them.
Yeah,
nice.
I was straight up Terran. Like I didn't appreciate the value of vultures, but I would make just Marines all day. Because I was lazy, and it just seemed like the most efficient way to just stomp through pubs, get a whole bunch of barracks going, crank out medics and Marines, and just fully upgrade them. Play the long con. So, leading into my next question, what got you into competitive gaming?
Well, I mean, playing Brood War kind of naturally led into competitive gaming.
Yeah.
I never really did a lot of like competitive stuff in Brood War because I was like kind of young. I didn't live in like an accessible place for good internet. It was kind of far away from like LANs, so I never really got that like experience when I was playing Brood War. But I knew about it and stuff. Like Team Liquid back then was like the place for everything, like Brood War. So I'd always just like look up stuff on Team Liquid. And then when StarCraft 2 came out, that's when I started to play competitive. I got onto a team called Requiem Esports, like a couple months after the game came out. and then that turned into Quantic. The first iteration of Quantic, there was like multiple iterations of that team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And I was
actually
on
one of the
Quantic.
teams I miss.
I was on Quantic for about a year before I had to stop playing because my internet got too bad, and then that was like the end of StarCraft 2 for me for a bit. I came back later, like a year and a half after that, to try and do like WCS, but back then WCS was not region locked, so it was like, oh, I'm playing a qualifier. Oh, I ran into a Korean. Oh, I'm playing qualifier. Oh, I ran into another Korean. And then that eventually led into, okay, I'm gonna play a different game.
Right. Jimmy, you had another question?
Yeah, so obviously that led into Heroes and you being a part of HGC. Before HGC, there was a little bit of a different term to structure. I think you were on Murloc Geniuses for a while. That was Heroes Rising, I want to say, about that time. I don't remember the teams between then and Superstars. There's just a lot of movement in Heroes. But I guess what I'm saying is, what do you think of the system now that Blizzard has in place versus what they had a year ago with the the qualification system last year?
I mean, HC is like way better than what we had before because it's actually structured. You technically get a salary, even though their payment is a little bit weird about it. Like, you get to play consistent games. The only thing that I don't like about it is that there's less lands. There's only like 4 lands or something total in the year instead of however many it was last year. Because it was a lot of fun, like going around to different lands last year and playing, even if most of them were at Burbank. But still, lands were fun last year.
Well, Burbank was good for me because it was close to me, so I could always go to those.
It was close for me too, but it's like lands are a lot of fun, and that's something that I miss having like consistently. Obviously, if our team was better, we would have gone to more lands, but
yeah,
it's only like top 2, top 3 that get to go, and everyone else is like, oh, I want to go to the land. But it's definitely, like, the structure on the whole is definitely so much better than it was, like, in 2017. Because in 2017, it was just like, okay, you have this tournament, you qualify for this tournament, you go play this tournament. Maybe you make money, maybe you don't.
Right, yeah. It definitely seems a bit more financially stable with the HG system right now. And the thing that, if you've ever watched the show, people know Naventic is my least favorite team. By a lot. We pick winners every week on our show for the HGC, and we have the option to lock in a pick for extra points. And I ran one strat, and that was lock any game against Naventic. And what amused me was the end of the open qualifier system. Naventic made a lot of noise about, well, NA isn't being best represented, etc., etc. HGC rolls around and we see what happens. And that was very telling to me on many levels, because the constant play literally separated the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. You got to see the best teams rise up to the top, as we saw, as of the recording today, as we saw, Roll 20 took 3-1 off of Tempo Storm to knock him out of the tournament, as well as Fnatic and Dignitas just performing out of their minds. It's really neat to see how much the game has evolved because of the HGC format, and seeing the best teams play against each other on a consistent basis. So let's roll that little discussion into the next question. What are your thoughts on the current meta? If I remember correctly, you were really excited about Cassia coming out.
Cassia is a lot of fun. Current meta is kind of in a weird place, I guess, because like the patches are in, like, I think it's currently on D.Va patch, I think, for the meta.
Yeah.
And no one has really experimented too much with D.Va. Like, just before I stopped playing, like, people were still kind of playing around with D.Va. So how she will interact with the meta will be kind of interesting. Other than that, it's like ban Dehaka or Genji, or get one and have fun. And then a new rack is also really annoying.
God, that's the most succinct summary of the meta I've heard. Pick or ban Dehaka Genji and maybe throwing a Nubarak in there somewhere.
That's pretty much what it feels like.
Now, one of the things, as me definitely not being a pro, is the amount of Medivh play that's been happening recently, especially in the mid-season brawl. It's just teams are really putting a higher prioritization onto Medivh. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if Medivh is played well, not just individually, but as like a team, he's like a really good enabler. Like Roll20 is famous for it, like Cloud and Jesting, the Medivh Diablo combo. Like they play that really well as a team. And like Medivh just kind of enables a lot of things, plus he kind of shuts down some things, like, oh, you want to dive our backline? Oh, I'm sorry, I have Protect and Portals and Leyline and haha. So, like, when it's played well, like, as a team, Medivh is just like, you can't, it won't hurt your comp really to have a Medivh on your team. It'll just help you.
That's a good point. Good point. Jimmy, you got anything another question to follow up on?
Yeah, going to your role, which is mostly range assassin. What kind of brought you to that? Was that just you kind of feeling a need for the teams you were starting on early on, or is it just something you really enjoy playing?
Well, I've also like played MOBAs since forever. Like alongside playing Brood War, I was also playing like Dota 1.
Mm-hmm.
I played Dota 1 for like 8 years or something like that. So I've always kind of gravitated towards ranged as my role, mostly towards like skill shot heroes and like mages and stuff like that. That's kind of always been my preferred thing. And that, like in heroes, like the mages are a lot of fun. So I've always just kind of wanted to play mages. And then other ranged, I've just naturally like been able to play. I've never really played melee much in anything ever. Like even in like RPGs or something, I'm like, oh, melee class, nah, I'm gonna play the mage. So that's always just been kind of my thing of stay away from the melee, play the ranged. And luckily, I've always been on teams that are like, okay, you can play ranged. I'm like, yeah, don't real swap.
That's awesome.
Follow up to that. Favorite non-meta hero?
Favorite non-meta hero? I kind of got told that Chromie and Cassia weren't non-meta, which was weird, but probably, it's not range, but probably Vikings, to be honest.
Oh,
one of the few Vikings players in NA, like on a pro team, or was on a pro team, and like Vikings are definitely a lot of fun.
I play a lot of Vikings.
Yeah, he does. He's one of the few people I'll trust when I'm playing with. If someone says, "Hey, let's play Vikings," Jimmy's like the only person I trust personally. That will, yeah, okay, let's do that. I can get behind that idea. So, Vikings.
Well, if you've played StarCraft, you know you gotta play Vikings, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's just how it is.
Vikings. I always felt like anybody coming over from Dota would have a kind of innate advantage for playing Vikings, because Meepo, especially if you're a Meepo player.
Yeah,
see, and you already know where I'm going with that. It's just having to control 5 heroes at once, and then you move it down to 3, and you're like, oh, it's like break time. What am I? It's so easy. So
3 heroes that don't have any like abilities to start off with. Yeah, it's a little bit easier. I think most people kind of stayed away from Meepo though, so
Oh,
I don't think it was a very common hero to be played.
A couple of majors ago, like he saw a lot of play. Like there was a spot where like Meepo bans were actually pretty common. So, but I'm forced to pay attention to the Dota scene. Let's move it on. So, current meta, you mentioned D.Va's kind of in a weird spot right now. People are still experimenting with her. At every patch, there's a meta shift. Everything changes slightly. Heroes fall in and out. What heroes would you like to see come back into the current meta?
Well, I'm gonna be selfish and say most of the mages, like bring back the Kael'thas, bring back the Jaina, add another mage into the game, Blizzard, please. Here's the mages. I love mages.
Okay. Follow up to that. Just thought of it. What mage would you like to see come into Heroes?
I honestly don't really know a lot of like Warcraft lore or stuff like that. If it was from like StarCraft, I don't know if it would be a mage necessarily, but something like a Defiler would be interesting, or a Dark Archon would be interesting. I don't know how they would function, but if I can run around screaming Plague You at people with Defiler, I would be very happy.
Okay. Since
my gosh.
we've made a lot of references to Brood War. Did you play through the extra campaigns?
Maybe a long time ago. I don't remember.
So do you remember the Alan Schlesser campaign? The Slavers? Okay, there was one where it was a Goliath pilot. Like, I would actually like to see him, like someone from those those optional campaigns you could play. I'd love to see someone come in from there, because there was a named Dark Archon. So it's not impossible for your idea to happen. Like, I would love to see a Dark Archon being able to. I mean, we already have a mind control. In Sylvanas, but like some of the other stuff you could bring in would be like amazing. I would love to see that.
I think that would be fun. I think from Diablo, I don't know if they'd be mages exactly, but Mephisto or Bale, I think, would be a lot of fun. I don't know. I think Bale would be more like a mage. Maybe Mephisto might be mage-like.
Yeah, no.
I think I've seen like people like make things for Mephisto be like support, which I guess is okay, but I think Bale would probably be more mage-like, maybe, hopefully.
And then you could run if Mephisto was a support, you could run a full Team Evil comp.
Exactly.
That. So Leoric, Diablo, Butcher, Mephisto. I'm forgetting one. There's a fourth.
Malthael? Seacal?
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
There you go.
Perfect. So, let's see here, Jimmy. You got another question you want to ask?
Yeah. So, going to the statement you made on Twitter about a week ago about your future in Heroes, how has it been to kind of step away from the game for a little bit, and are your plans still the same going forward with Heroes, as far as possibly going towards the open division and also having a bit more focus on streaming?
Well, right now my focus has been on my stream. I just started doing full-time streaming, doing like 10 hours a day or something, which is basically what I was doing before, except before it was split between streaming and streaming. So, and so far it's been going well for my stream, and like I feel happier about it. I wasn't really that happy playing on Superstars, to be honest. I probably haven't really been that happy playing competitively since Brainpower disbanded last year.
Okay.
I've been
Was it
recently unhappy since then.
Was it just the competitive scene as a whole, or the players you were playing with, or
mostly team environment?
Okay.
That's like increasingly been the issue.
Okay.
And not like when I got told I was off the team, and then that week I had like a tryout. Like after that, like the tryout, played it. The games were basically what they always were, and afterwards I'm like, oh, I don't miss playing in that. I'm actually okay not playing in that. I still love to play competitively, and I would love to play competitively. It's just a matter of, can I financially do it in the open division? Because, I have to pay like rent and stuff like that. And open division is not exactly like a ton of money involved in it. It's like maybe, I think like $240 a month if you're winning every single tournament, I think is what it comes down to.
So, something like that. I think it's like 500 for every team each week that gets first, but that's split between 5 people. So
yeah, which is like maybe a fourth of my rent.
Yeah.
So I'd also be like, I'd be scrimming, so I'd be taking at like minimum 4 hours. So it'd be scrimming and then I'd be streaming. So it just feels better financially just focused on streaming. When HC comes around again with roster swaps, which will probably inevitably happen.
Oh yeah.
See if I can get back onto a team that way, try out for a team for next year. If I can't, well, oh well. I'll still be streaming at least.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of HGC teams, who do you think from NA is looking the strongest going into the second half of the year, or season 2? I guess we would say. Who do you think is looking the best right now?
I think there's a few teams that'll probably improve from what they did last time. So Navinnic will probably improve, like not having Kenma is like Freedom will probably improve because Kira is just overall kind of a better player than Insam was, and he has like more of a leadership role going into it, so he'll like bring a lot of structure to the team that they probably needed. No Tomorrow's going to improve, I imagine, because Equinox is just really good at like dragging his team behind him whether they want to or not. So like those teams will do better. I think on the other end of the spectrum, like I think Tempo, especially after this weekend, they're gonna be like, shit, we've gotten really complacent. Maybe we need to like try to get better. Or they're gonna be like, well, we're still best. Like we'll still probably be best in NA. So it depends on what their attitude is. Do they want to improve, or they just want to stay where they are? So, and then I don't actually know if Teammate's gonna improve, or sorry, Roll20, if they're going to improve or not, because bringing on Goku is gonna be kind of weird for their team. I think like they're like him and Cloud play a lot of the same heroes, so I don't really know how that's gonna work. That's gonna be an interesting functionality between them. So they could get better, they could get worse, and then I think GFE will probably strictly be worse, because I don't really think K1 and Cap are that strong of players anymore. They're just kind of like always hyped up because BlizzCon, but they have never really been the kind of players to like really put the best efforts forward in improving, and I don't think that will necessarily like. I don't think them joining GFE will be an improvement for the team. I think they'll probably go down a bit in the standings.
Do you think, you say they go down a bit in standings, do you think they'll get an early burst? Like they'll win a few games early on, and then people will figure out, oh, it's still K1 and it's still King Calf and K1. You know, we know how to play against them. And teams will adjust.
I'm not really sure. I mean, teams are probably scrimming against them right now, so there's, you probably know kind of how that team is going to function. It's not like going to be a surprise going into the tournament, like when the league starts. I mean,
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I guess kind of also on HGC this next season. What do you think of Even in Death? Do they have a shot, or are they just it's going to be a real rough first couple weeks for them adjusting to the higher tier teams?
Having scrimmed against them, they will probably be bottom tier, probably 8th place is what I'd imagine, but luckily for them, they're in the HGC, so now they get access to HGC scrims all the time, whereas before it was kind of shoddy. Like HGC teams playing with amateur teams, it's like sometimes you give them games and sometimes like you don't, so they'll have more access to like just getting better scrims, so that's going to improve them as a team. And then they have to stay together for like 6 months or something like that, so their synergy will get better. So overall, they're going to improve as time goes on. I don't know if they'll stay at the bottom or if they'll improve. I don't necessarily think the players on that team are the greatest, so they might not move that much further up than from 8th to 7th. Most likely, they'll probably still be in the Crucible at the end of the season.
Now, see, the whole thing that was weird to me was that the Crucible ended, both teams lost, Beast Up disbanded, and then Even in Death kind of got forcibly shoved into the HGC. So what's concerning to me is, what if Even in Death had roster changes planned? You know? And now they're kind of stuck with their current roster for the next 6 months. It's that...
There's a factor.
There is a million... I mean, granted, they preceded how the rules were in the book, but I just felt like there should have been at least a best of 3, a best of 5, whatever, between the two finalists to see who moves into the HGC, because they both lost. You know, it's just I didn't like that situation, but there's literally nothing you could do. Blizzard obviously.
I attribute that mostly to growing pains with HEC. Like, there's gonna be a lot of things that happen in the first year. They're like, okay, next year we're gonna change that.
Right.
So like, they probably weren't like, oh, both teams in Crucible lost, and then someone disbands. What do we do now? I guess we just default go to what our rule set was. So next year, probably there'll be a better. I hope there's better stuff in place. Blizzard actually like improves the league and like learns from it, and they're like, nah, it's fine. That's fine. Everybody was fine with that.
And again, like you don't really anticipate a mid-tier team to just, okay, we're done, bye.
Yep.
So, let's see. The rest of the mid-season brawl. Who do you think is going to take it?
I mean, I am always like, Korea's gonna win, but right now Korea's not winning, so. It seems like whenever it's not Korea winning, it's like suddenly Dignitas wins. So probably Dignitas if Korea doesn't like step up their game.
Yeah, if I'm checking the bracket now. We've got E-Star tomorrow in L5. I think E-Star. Personally, I think E-Star is going to take that. And we've got MVP and Roll20, who was honestly the biggest surprise day one, lifting a game off of MVP Black. Do you think
definitely
yeah,
not preparation from MVP Black? Like, yeah, have all your favorite heroes. It'll be fine. Oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Oops.
we gave Glau Medivh. That was a mistake. Do you think Roll20 has a chance here?
I believe in Glau's ability to shot call and draft, but I don't believe in that they have a lot of variation in their strategy. And if MVP Black is like, okay, we're just gonna kind of deny them one comfort thing and then play our game, I feel like MVP Black is just the better team, and so, like, Roll20 might be able to take the game, but I feel like it ends up being like a 3-1 at the end.
That's fair. Jimmy, you got any other further questions?
I can't think of anything else. I guess before we totally close this out, any shout outs? Where can people find you if they don't follow you already, really?
My Twitter is @FayHots, and my stream is twitch.tv/Fay14. I just switched to doing full-time streams. I start at 6 p.m. EST every day, basically, except Saturdays, usually. I usually go until about 4 a.m. EST, so it's like a 10-hour stream-ish. Other than that, I don't think I have any other shout-outs. Not on the team anymore, so. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And we are now going back to the show. All right. Back. So, interview. What'd you think, guys?
I think it was very cool that she was really open about her thoughts on like other players and things that are going on within the league. That's always refreshing when you sit down with a pro and you don't have to worry about them pulling their punches.
Yeah, it was the Idra chat was definitely entertaining to me personally, just because it's we'll just call it the personality shift, where he's publicly known for being, really ragey and angry and stuff like that. But from what Faye said, he was exactly the opposite most of the time, during his Heroes run. So I found that very fascinating.
Well, the one thing you do wrong tends to get glorified on the internet, so it doesn't surprise me like that. Yeah, he has this perception of being this ragey guy, but he's actually, just a normal gamer like all of us.
Mm-hmm. So again, thank you.
Who's much better at games than any of us.
Yeah. So again, thank you, Faye.
Carl, you're muted.
For that interview. It was amazing that you took the time to spend with us right there. We hope to have you back on the show again at a later date and to catch up with you and find out everything that's going on with you. So,
Carl, did you have any thoughts you were trying to throw in there, by the way, before we move on?
I think I forgot them.
Fair
it's
enough.
all right. We can move on.
Zex is a bad interviewer. That's probably what he's thinking.
All right, so moving on, we're going to be talking about Dehaka this week. I know Willie's been playing him a ton, pretty much since he was been released, and he recently underwent a little bit of training with Urho, and he's got a lot of improved strategies now. So he's going to share his build with us.
Yeah. So Dehaka, am I still muted?
No, you're not muted. I can hear you.
You're not muted to us.
Okay, yeah, I had to double check that real quick. Okay, so Dehaka, great tank, probably the best tank in the game presently, mainly because his movement speed is just absolutely busted right now. They changed his brush stalker around a little bit, and now it's just off the charts. Like, he can run down mounted people, and that's simply not fair. So we've got his abilities right now. Let me switch over to the gameplay. There we go.
Yeah,
That's
I was
better.
going to tell you to bring it up, but yeah. I figured you'd get there.
So you got his Q, his drag, tongue somebody, pull him back, leave him in the spot, whatever. 15-second cooldown, 75 mana.
So how much of the range on tongue is something that takes getting you? It felt like the couple of times I played him, it felt very short range.
It is very short range.
Do you have any strategies for consistently hitting
Lead
your Qs?
Lead your target.
Okay.
If they're you can line up easier tongues if you know where they have to be. Like if they are trying to get behind gate and they're coming across one of the cannons, you know they have to cross that cannon. So try to line your tongue up there. Or if you know they have to run towards a bush to juke somebody else, come around the other side and tongue them then.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the most important thing about Dehaka is lead that target. You will hit so many more hooks when you do.
That makes sense, trying to funnel them into the spot you want them to be too.
Yeah, exactly. And then
With most heroes,
go ahead.
I was just gonna. With most heroes like that, it's best to throw your CC in a place where either they juke, or if they juke it, they're putting themselves out of position and likely to die, and if they don't juke it, they get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got his Dark Swarm. Pop it, kill all the minions, move on. Simple.
You can move through units while it's active.
Yes, and keep that in mind because you may be trying to body block somebody, and you hit your Dark Swarm and you accidentally let them go because you didn't have enough damage. But if you had simply body blocked, your teammates could have put the damage on them to kill them. So, let's see.
Don't get happy with the Dark Swarm.
Yeah. Burrow. You burrow. You also purge any dots or whatever. Anything that's targeting you. Pyroblast coming out at you. Burrow. It's gone. GG.
Now, they just cleanse? They self-cleanse?
Yeah.
Okay,
You become invulnerable.
So, yeah, self-cleanse in the sense you can't cast it while you're stunned, but
Right.
stuff that's on you will get removed.
Yep.
Okay.
His trait, Essence Collection. Stuff dies, you collect Essence. You can stack up to 50 Essence. Press D, get the heal. It heals you over time, so sometimes you want to heal going into a fight if you know you're going to take a lot of damage beforehand, just so you can save a later talent, say Burrow or Adaptation or something like that. So, smart essence management is the key to playing a Dehaka well. Smart essence management lets you stay in a fight far longer than you should be able to if you just burn it at the wrong time or anything like that. So
Yeah.
moving.
I think that's the thing a lot of people forget too on regen heals. Like you kind of got a plan for them, right? Like just playing mostly support. Malfurion's a completely different experience from Uther. So
Yeah.
when you're using your essence, I can see that being very important.
Yeah. So
Go ahead,
moving
Carl.
on. Oh, go. Yeah, go ahead, Carl. Did you have
No,
something?
go.
Then?
Just
Okay.
go.
Just go. Okay, so level
Just
1.
go.
There's nothing wrong with Enduring Swarm. There's nothing wrong with Tissue Regeneration, but Enhanced Agility is just busted. It's broken. It's your movement speed lasts for 5 seconds after leaving a bush, and it's a quest talent too. Every 50 essence permanently increases the movement speed bonus of Brush Stalker by 2% up to 20%. That makes you faster than a mount for 5 seconds every time you leave a bush. You should be running in and out of bushes like crazy. If you're not doing anything, run into a bush. Run back out, clear a wave, run into a bush. Run. That's the name of the game.
It's free movements.
Yeah, you want to stack that movement speed as often as possible, as best as possible. Level 4, one who collects. You're gonna spend a lot of time clearing lanes as Dehaka. You want the bonus essence on this one. Lurker Strain, you got to get really clever to get use out of that. Hero Stalker used to be good. That used to be the go-to when it used to grant you 25 essence, but it doesn't anymore. So one who collects just gets more bang for the buck, in my opinion.
Makes sense. I mean, you're going to clear more minions and get waves.
Exactly. Moving on to level
Kills.
7. Yeah, like, I remember when Hero Stalker was the only talent to go to. Like, if you picked anything else, you got yelled at, and you were a bad Dehaka, and you should feel bad about your life. But level 7. This one is kind of iffy. If you're coming up against a melee-heavy comp, Symbiosis, in my opinion, is the way to go. Especially if they have 2 heroes that have to be in your face. Symbiosis will get you a lot of mileage. Symbiosis, when you hit somebody with Dark Swarm, it reduces the cooldown by 0.4 of a second. And that stacks. So if you got 4 more, 3 or 4 people, you can get multiple dark swarms off.
You can essentially have Dark Swarm up 100% of the time.
Yeah.
In a hectic team fight.
Exactly. The one I'm going for, however, is more CC, and that's Feeding Frenzy. Basic attacks reduce Drag's cooldown by 2 seconds. And it doesn't matter what you hit. It doesn't have to be a hero. You could hit a wall if you wanted to. So, and like as we covered earlier, Drag is a 15-second cooldown. So, if you don't move your drag target, you get about 2 auto attacks off. Right there's 4 seconds chopped off. And you'll probably get 1 more in as they're trying to run. So, at least 6 seconds chopped off every drag you land, potentially. I gotta thank Urho on that one. I never considered Feeding Frenzy until he brought it to my attention and explained why this was a good talent and why you should consider it. Like, because I was a Symbiosis guy 100% of the time. So.
But against less frontline heavy teams, Feeding Frenzy definitely sounds like the better play for catching those more mobile heroes consistently.
Exactly. Like, if they're a single tank team, like, Feeding Frenzy is pretty safe to take, because you can pull that person out of position, or they don't. And if it's a single tank, then you have more opportunities to flank using Burrow and get on a backliner, with that enhanced movement speed.
Yeah, and then like if your comp is very dependent on getting a drag and pulling somebody out of position, or like they have one kind of carry that if you get, the more they're CC'd by your drag, the better your chances are of winning. Mm-hmm. Then Feeding Frenzy is the way to go. Yeah. But
yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially if you're like one of those teams that's just trying to trap one hero and unload a combo and go.
Yeah, exactly. So level 10, again, it's really iffy, but I remember when you got made fun of if you took adaptation.
I think you were the only one making fun of people, to be fair.
Yeah, I think you were.
No, I never saw anyone take adaptation pre-rework.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, it was isolation 100% of the time. You had to land your isolation. But adaptation's the way to go now. Combine that with good, essence management, and you sustain through an incredible amount of team fights. Like, you get so much healing back with smart utilization. And Urho mentioned this to me, and he knows me doing it. And a lot of players do it. Don't burn both talents at the same time. Don't burn your essence and then press R. You're wasting one. You're wasting one of them. So you should wait for the heal to wear off and then press the other one. I like using adaptation first, waiting for that heal to pop, and then essence. But your mileage may vary. Level 13, I usually take Primal Swarm. If you get that drag, you get on them, you're gonna help blow them up by lowering their armor by 10%. So, and it lasts for almost a second every time you hit them with Primal Swarm. So they don't even have to stay in it. Like, you just have to tap them with it once, and they take more damage. It's good to stay on them, but...
Well, it falls off after 3/4 of a second, so staying on them does help. But...
Yeah. But it's not exactly necessary. Sometimes you need that 1/4 of a second to, blow them up. Pop out of a bush as someone's about to get pyroblasted and tap them once or something goony like that. 16. I still love Elongated Tongue. I think the range upgrade is deceptive enough that opponents who are playing against the Dehaka are so used by that point to that original range of the tongue that Elongated Tongue comes out, and it's like, okay, I'm safe at this range, and then they get pulled. And it's like, no, crap, I have to rejudge this last half of the game, making sure I'm not within a drag range. And it's really hard to do that. Like, that late in the game, a good Elongated Tongue drag that leads to a pick probably will win you the game.
There is definitely something to be said about changing up a core mechanic of one of your talents, late game.
Right. But however, I take Tongue and Claws because it gets you out of so much nonsense. Like, you take a decent talent and then you make it even better. Like, and that movement speed applies if you run into a bush. So you get that movement speed buff. It's completely busted in the right hands. Like, sometimes you can use it offensively, you can use it defensively. Like, there's a myriad of ways you can utilize Tunneling Claws. I don't think anybody uses paralyzing enzymes. Usually you have other people on your team that will bring some kind of slower stun as well on top of that. It's not bad. It's just other members of your team can bring that along. Level 20 is either Essence Claws or Apex Predator. I don't know a whole lot of people who think Change is survival. It's good. It sounds great. I mean, you reduce your cooldown by 30 seconds and 200% healing off of adaptation. But for maps like Dragonshire, things like that, Apex Predator is king. Like, it is so good for its ability to delay teams from taking objectives. I remember when it was, before it got nerfed, there was one game we extended by like 7 or 8 minutes just because I had the team running back and forth between shrines, taking them back after I would just brush stalker in, take the shrine, and teleport out.
Oh yeah, post 20 it was don't go anywhere near a bush. You know?
Yeah.
If you're doing that alone, you're dumb.
Exactly. But Essence Claws is my favorite way to go, to be perfectly honest. Like, you get essence by hitting heroes. And if you hit a drag, you can get, 2-3 attacks off. That's 15 essence. That's a lot of health back just by popping it. And his attacks now slow by 20%. It's kind of I know I say paralyzing enzymes at 16. You shouldn't really take it. but this one is just built in. Like, you hit them and they slow down. It's, what is the auto attack talent? Fury of the Nexus?
Fury of the Storm.
Fury of the Storm. Yeah. The one where your
Nexus Frenzy.
Nexus Frenzy.
Bonus attack speed and range. And then Fury of the Storm is the multi-attack.
There's one that does slow.
Oh, Nexus Blades.
That's it. Nexus Blades. Yeah, it's a built-in Nexus Blades and trait buff.
Minus the bonus AD from Nexus Blades.
That's fine.
But Dehaka would rather have the healing than the AD.
Exactly. Like, Haka hungers for healing. God, alliteration. I tried to avoid that. But, yeah.
You failed.
I did. Essence Claws is definitely the way to go. It's really good at that late of the game. If you get on somebody, you're going to stay on them. If they run towards a bush, they're even worse off. Because you can just dart into the bush and just keep pecking at them. So, that is my personal build. That has become my favorite build now. Like I said, there's some options you can take at certain levels, 7, 16. I mean, even 1 has a lot of options. I don't take the spell armor unless it's a really mage-heavy comp, but you don't come across that too often anymore.
Right.
So, that's my build. I hope you like it. Try it.
It sounds very solid. I mean, I learned a lot about how to fight him, so that helps always.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have one of those kind of just reliable builds like Dehaka's, where you kind of know exactly what each talent is going to bring to you. I think it's a little less unclear in certain heroes, but I don't know. Dehaka just feels very straightforward, is the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. Get in their face, pull somebody, kill them. Eat their essence.
So, yep. For anybody who's been watching the show or, paying attention to Heroes at all, the mid-season brawl was last weekend, and that interview took place during part of it. Obviously, didn't have all the information during that interview. We've got it now. It was a pretty great tournament over, from the point where they were doing groups up until the grand finals. I mean, there were just a lot of really big highlight moments in this tournament. I can't even really think to wrap my head around what was the biggest part. It's hard to think just in those terms because there were so many moments. But I mean, yeah, it was stellar from start to finish. There really weren't a lot of dead teams in there outside of
Super Perfect Team.
Super Perfect Team. Nomiya. I mean, no one really believed in Nomiya that much, but they at least looked like they could, play with the other teams, I guess.
And they went 1-1 with Roll20, I believe.
Yeah.
Because they just have Roll20's number. They did that to them at Western Clash. They pulled a game off of Roll20, and everybody's like, "What?"
They went 4-6 in their groups, and I was the team I was trying to think of that wasn't SPT was Red Canids, who were atrocious. I mean,
yeah, they were. Well, see, you can excuse Red Canids for being bad. Super Perfect Team is a top Chinese team.
Yeah, they're a
super
team.
That was weird for them to just not show up at all like that.
Super Get Perfected team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Nomiya made it out of groups.
Yeah.
So,
that's great
good on them.
Yeah, that's great for a minor region team to accomplish. I mean, look at everybody they were going up against, in that group.
Yeah.
They could have very well been in SPT's spot, at bottom, along with Deadly Kittens.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, they had the same match record as Tempo Storm, and they had Fnatic in their group, who won the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
They I called Group A. I called it the Group of Death for a reason, just because, you look at that, and honestly, the top. Yes, I still think Roll20 is strong. Get over it. any three of those could have made a deep run. I mean, Fnatic won the whole thing. MVP Black made a deep run. They got, what, third, if I remember correctly?
No,
No?
L5
Fourth?
got L5 beat them out when they had to play
That's right. Okay, yeah.
in the Korean death match, the lower bracket.
I remember watching that series too. You think I would have remembered that because L5 had no business winning Game 5. They were just getting clowned on and clawed their way back somehow.
I mean, we can say that Europe pretty much stepped forward and asserted their dominance in this tournament.
Yeah, finally.
Europe showed up.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, I think in groups they didn't do all that great versus. I mean, I think Dig. I don't know.
Dig got 2-0'd by E-Star, and everybody was like, "What?"
Yeah, but I think they 3-0'd L5 in groups.
I'm pretty sure they did. I believe. Looking at
Dig
that
did
right.
go 7-3 in their groups, and Fnatic
Yeah.
was 8-2, so they didn't lose much. They lost some, but I mean, Dig is like, I don't know, just like the cockroach of the gaming. Like they just kept coming back. You couldn't get rid of them. They were persistent in every single match, and all their games, like all their series where they were going up against top tier talent, went to like 4 or 5 games every time. You know, they were just
Dig shows up on LAN.
yeah.
Like these are really, really like they're veteran players. They know how to boot camp well. They know how to do their research and perform in a best of series, which is why they always go the distance. Because sometimes they get off on a bad foot, but they can adapt and they can take the steps to, against everybody at Fnatic, it was enough to win, right?
Yeah.
And they came in, I think, second in groups, but then they went second in the whole tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't get that one last game off Fnatic, and I was bummed. I got stuck at work on Monday, so I didn't get to see the last lower finals match and the grand finals match yet. I plan on botting those later, but I didn't get a chance to do it before the show. So if you guys want to talk about how great, I mean, just looking at the scores, one went 3-2, one went 4-3. I assume they were great.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the grand finals, Things House won 3 games, Fnatic won 3 games, but because Fnatic had the advantage from winning upper finals, they
won.
They won.
They didn't go best of 7?
They did go best of 7, but winners bracket side got a 1-game advantage.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So grand final started and Fnatic automatically had a 1-0 start.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate
The only other option is to do a bracket reset if Dig wins.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but it takes so much time.
Exactly.
And this is like knowing when you're going to be out, like for booking the venue purposes, for stream purposes, for Blizzard paying their employees, and having no idea. Like we could have an extra best of 7 at the end of the day.
Right.
Is
take
kind of
another 2 hours.
My solution would be
3 hours.
Is to not make it a best of 7, make it a best of 5 with a potential bracket reset and no 1-game advantage.
So if it goes to the last game, make that best of 7, or are they both best of 5s?
Both best of 5.
I mean, it's a little more manageable, but yeah, if each game set up and draft takes 40 minutes.
Yeah, we're looking at if that were to happen, if all games go the distance, we're looking at like an 8-hour grand finals, and at that point it's not so much the gameplay, it's an endurance match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the players, if you're on game 10 of a series, it's just miserable.
You factor in people have to use a bathroom, an 8-hour set. Somebody's got to eat.
Yeah.
Maybe if a bracket reset happens, you throw an intermission in there, but you're just extending the misery at that point.
So like the grassroots scene, back when we had like Kings of the Storm and all that stuff. Do y'all remember like the one like back when C9 Tempo were the 2, like original Tempo with Dreadnought and Dunk Train were like team captains?
Mm-hmm.
Like Tempo had this 6-month like reign of dominance. Then Cloud9 was down 2-0 in grand finals. then ran it back and won that best of 5. Then the bracket reset, and they won the next best of 5. And it was like the greatest like moment. It just like blew my mind. It was amazing. It was, as a viewer, it was fantastic. As somebody who, like, I don't have to go to bed at any time. It's great. I have no restrictions. Right. But for the players and the casters, it was just like, it was worth it, but it was a grueling experience.
Yeah, like whenever I watch an FGC tournament, like the last game they play, it's usually coming around 11 o'clock, midnight, and I just pray for a quick 3-0 from winner's side for grand finals. Because that bracket reset is agonizing. Now, Evo, when that rolls around, nah, give me the bracket reset. Let's get some hype going.
Well, yeah, with fighting games, it's different because, I mean, you go back and you play your best of 7 or whatever, and it takes you, you know, maybe 20 minutes, you know, to do.
Unless you're playing Smash.
At most, you're looking at like a 30 to 40 minute entire grand finals if there's a bracket reset. That's a lot more manageable than. Yeah. All right, we got another 4 hours of Heroes, boys. 3 hours, yeah. So, I can see why they don't do it anyways. Yeah. But I mean, still, they went 3-3. Dig did what they needed to do. They won the first set, you know. So they get their free game, and that's good. I mean, they earned it.
He means Fnatic, but yes.
Or yeah, Fnatic. I'm sorry.
Yep. Dig didn't win this time.
Dig did not win.
I was sad. Dig is my favorite European team, but they placed second. They beat all the Koreans, and I'm happy about that. I'm really happy with a European win.
My favorite European team doesn't even play anymore.
Boo.
What's that?
Navi. Oh, I'm a huge I'm a huge Navi fan from. That dates back to Dota.
The other esport I watch, I don't like Dignitas at all, but I love Dignitas and HOTS.
Yeah.
What other is it? LOL?
Yeah, it's League.
Are they kind of the Naventic of the LOL scene?
No, they're 5-1 this split.
So I don't really like them.
This is a hero stream. I don't really need to get into it.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair. So we're coming back into league play starts on Friday again, which is good. We don't have everyone here for our picks this week, so I guess maybe we'll just reset them and start in week 2. I don't know how we're doing that, but
I mean, you can just message the group and have them submit them.
Yeah, that's true. But we won't probably be doing them on the show. I mean, with the interviews, anytime it's going to be hard to we're going to be looking at 2-hour shows. You know?
Yeah. We can still run it and just post the graphic every week of, you know, Willie has -3 points and Jimmy has 47.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. That sounds accurate. We could do that. But you guys want to throw anything out about HGC before we wrap it up? Because I mean, it just there's not much to say. Like I could sit here and talk about all the matches I've seen, but I wouldn't do them any justice. You guys should have watched this, and if you didn't watch it, go check the VODs, especially the Dignitas versus Fnatic matches. They are some of the best played Heroes of the Storm I've ever seen in my life. There is in the top bracket, there is a moment where the Dig decides to Dig panicked against a heavy push comp that who did they have? Because they picked Zeratul at the very end and they used the Void Prison to save the core. They went something weird.
No, they had Genji, Falstad.
They had Chen.
Zeratul for damage. Oh yeah, Fnatic had
Chen.
Yes.
Yeah, they had Chen and pushed very hard. Got the core down to 1%, and the game doesn't end for another 15 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah. I'm not promising anything because my first attempt was really bad quality video and sound. So I'm going to see if I can adjust that. But I'm actually in the works of trying to put together some stuff where I will release videos of VOD reviews, and that's the first one I'm going to do is that game. So it was a pretty hype game to watch.
I think I'd fallen asleep to that series, and I think that was one of the ones I was mad at. I know I slept through L5 and Dignitas in the loser side. I was really mad about that. I'm actually surprised E-Star flamed out so hard. Like, 'cause they
Yeah.
looked really strong in the group stage. They were just clowning people.
And then L5 dumpstered them.
And
Immediately.
Fnatic dumpstered them too.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing too it's one of those things where China plays differently. Like they play very, very aggressive, and it's one of those things when you're just in groups, like and you're drafting, and you're like, the game starts, and you're like, we didn't draft for this kind of aggression. That's what it looked like most of the time when they were really just blowing people out.
Mhm.
And I'm sure people kind of got some of that videotape, downloaded the strategies they needed, whatever players do inside their brains at that high level of play, but.
Yeah.
I'm sure they looked a lot more human during the tournament setting, which tells
Yeah.
me that the other team was ready.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of it. Is E-Star didn't have the same meta as everybody else, and they came in and they kind of blew people out of the water, and then you gave L5 and Fnatic time to do VOD reviews and examine E-Star's drafting, and suddenly it looked a lot different.
Yeah, yeah. Don't give them Illidan was a big thing, I would imagine too, because they looked really good when they had Illidan or Genji.
Yeah, that no tank comp with Illidan E-Star.
Yeah.
That was the most ridiculous thing. I was watching that, I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. And they just steamroll.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this pub stomp crap? This is what you run in quick match.
Yeah.
Pro scene?
Their teams do very much feel like they're kind of just maiming it up the entire time, but that it works for them. It's their meta, you know. It seems very risk rewardy though, like too much so for that kind of tournament setting and that level of play, because like Carl said, once the VODs got watched and the drafts got analyzed, they didn't look like a team that could compete.
Yeah. So I think, China looked decent. Like, I mean, So China, when you're trying to like rank the region, Super Perfect Team looked terrible.
Yeah.
But
E-Star looked amazing in groups, and then just didn't win a single game of bracket play.
Was supposed to be there. Was it E-Star? Because one of the China teams didn't make it because of visa issues, right?
And I think E-Star was the one that got in because of it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. E-Star was the one that came over. Super Perfect Team was supposed to be there.
Yeah,
so it's
Super
funny.
Perfect earned their spot and wasn't good.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting.
But I don't know. Maybe the other top Chinese team would have done well, but they didn't have the most impressive showing. Europe dominated the tournament. Korea was better than everybody except Europe.
So does that mean Korea underperformed?
I would say for expectations
Yeah,
of
I mean,
them being in either first or second place, like that was kind of
not making it to either winners finals or grand finals at all. That's a pretty heavy underperform for Korea. Like, as far as I don't watch enough Korea to say, oh yeah, MVP Black wasn't on their A game. As far as Korea performing to expectations, most definitely they heavily underperformed.
Yeah. I this isn't to take anything away from Europe either, because I think Europe's scene has been more competitive than most. I feel like the bottom of Europe is bad, but the middle really kind of solidifies that scene, and it keeps it active because there's always hungry people in the middle. And I don't know, when I watch Europe, EU, HGC, I generally see matchups that feel more competitive, except when they involve B Genius, and that's about it. And even B Genius was stepping it up at the end there.
Yeah,
I felt so bad for them in their Crucible game, but like then if I remember, they went against Zealots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no way they were winning. There was no way they were winning.
That's what I mean.
Zealots.
Both teams from the Crucible came in too. Like.
The NA open talent, like as much as the bottom NA team didn't look good, they looked light years ahead of the open talent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just not much of an amateur scene, and I feel like there is a fairly big one in Europe. It's a more beloved MOBA, I feel.
And we touched on that with the Bad Benny interview.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So.
Yeah, scrimming and whatnot.
The amateur scene in Europe just feels more complete. Like they take it a little more seriously.
For sure. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for tonight. As always, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, all the things. We have
a thing on Saturday.
That's right. We do have a thing on Saturday, and it is called Creators of the Storm. We are participating in a podcast / whatever you want to call it, tournament, where we are pitted against other podcasters in the Heroes community. 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, June 24th. Be there at twitch.tv/Halloran. However, if you want to watch us stream and hear our comms and hear our strats and basically stream snipe us, you can come back here at that same time. There will be various fun rules, like there could be a potential reverse draft and other things like that. There are maybe warriors only, monsters versus humans, all supports. I don't know how that's going to work because I don't think there's enough supports in the game to support that idea.
I think there's technically 10.
What's the technical one then?
If you count Tyrande and Tassadar, I think.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, there are 11 heroes under the support category.
How are we gonna ban? Well, we got to ban 2 at least. We got to ban. Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you get bans in this mode.
Check it out. Good version. I don't think. Maybe you're right. Maybe we don't get. But sexy Picards. I don't know. That's what the email says. Sexy Picards. And then all random in parentheses. So or Twitch votes. Twitch will vote for everybody's heroes.
So I believe our game is not immediate. We're the second team to go. So at 4 EST or whatever, don't tune into BlizzPro. Go to Halloran stream, and then once they start say, "Hey, BlizzPro is up against whatever," then you can come over to our stream and listen to us yell at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, what are you doing?
Yeah. We'll get super snarky with each other, and the show will probably end because, we're taking this very seriously.
Very seriously. We've been practicing all week.
Yep. So much so.
So much. So these other teams, like TBK, I'm coming for that booty.
So make sure you're tuning in for that. We have plenty of other shows on BlizzPro. We have on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific the West March Workshop. That's our Diablo 3 show. On Thursday, we have the Payload Podcast. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific. And on Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have Well Met. That's our Hearthstone show. Arcane Analysis is an audio-only show that can be found on our iTunes page. I say too much while I'm doing this. It happens all the time. So you can check out our Discord. That is discord.blizzpro.com. YouTube is youtube.com/blizzpro. 5-star reviews on iTunes if you want to do that for us. We are very much appreciative. That's about it. At Heroes Power Hour on Twitter or any of our Twitter handles down below. That all works.
Patron, donate money, get a cool shirt.
That too. Yes, forgot the Patreon. That's pretty much it. Anybody got anything they want to toss out before we close this bad boy?
Make sure to follow Faye on Twitch, Faye14. I believe that's her Twitter handle as well.
Her Twitter handle is @FayeHots.
@FayeHots, thank you. Sometimes I forget these things because it's late and I've not felt good.
Yes.
Other than that, I've got nothing on my end. We should have another interview next week.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that, and we'll tweet out from the show. Carl, anything?
I got nothing other than hopefully that video will be coming out sometime soon. You can watch me laugh at Dignitas' draft.
Maybe we can get somebody to help with the whole video portion of your things. We'll see. Anyways, thanks for tuning in for episode 105 of the Heroes Power Hour, powered by Legion by Lenovo and Intel Core 17. And in place of Jimmy, I just want to remind everybody to go ahead and stay tight.